the What You Been Watching podcast. I'm your host, the indescribable, marvelous Mike Dudley, followed as always by my cohort and younger brother,
Marcus Dudley, MD3,
Yeah.
checking in with you. Hey, we got there.
We kind of stumbled through that.
We're
We're going to get better at this, I promise.
Yeah, but anyways, man, how you been? What's been going on, man?
Good, man. Been waiting for you to get back from your trip. So I had a lot of time to go watch a bunch of movies and catch up on some shows. So got a lot to talk about, personally.
Yeah, we do. We feel like we gave you all a very structured podcast over the last 2 episodes. So we're going to do what we like to call here a true What You Been Watching, which is I've been in Maryland the last week and some change. So here's the $1 million question. This is why the people tune in, my brother. What you been watching?
Oh man, so it's been a lot of movies for me. I've been trying to support local theaters. I've gone and seen the new Nic Cage movie, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, or as I like to call it, Being Nic Cage.
Yep.
I went and saw The Northman,
Okay.
the new Robert Eggers movie, and I went and saw Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And other than that, I've been catching up on Battlestar Galactica and playing some video games and just trying to make do with staving off the darkness.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. That's why we watch these fucking movies. No, I've seen 2 of the movies you just referred to. I saw the Nic Cage movie, which we're going to get into here. I've not seen The Northman, but I did see Everything Everywhere All at Once, and we're going to deep dive into that a little bit. Before I left, my friend Justin, my co-worker, I would call him a friend though, we went to, there's a movie place here in town that is still rents movies. So if you're ever in the Tallahassee area, check out the Cap City Video Lounge. And it was the proprietor's 40th birthday, and he did his favorite movies, in which he watched Bubba Hotep at midnight that night. I didn't stay around quite that long, but I saw Return of the Living Dead.
Okay.
And Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 before I left. And boy, that was an anxiety attack, that damn Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's
Is that the one with the I know it's got the crazy family, the first one, but the second one is with like Chrome Dome and
Yep.
Like that's the one that just goes like completely off the rails.
off the fucking rails.
Right, okay.
Where he abducts the radio host.
Yes.
And what's his name? He was in Waterworld. What's his name? The bad guy.
Dennis Hopper?
Dennis Hopper, yeah.
Yeah.
He has a chainsaw fight with Leatherface, and he has like 3 chainsaws going. It is a fucking anxiety attack, but it's Kevin's one of his. He says it's the best sequel ever.
Shout out to Kevin at Cap City Video Lounge for all your movie rental needs.
Yes, if you're in Tallahassee, support local, man, for real. But he says, he made a joke. He's like, some people say The Godfather 2 is the best sequel of all time. Forget that. It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So I saw that. Shout out to Justin. He went with me. And other than that, been catching up on a little bit of Moon Knight. That's been going on. We got
Oh, dude. I am so enthralled with that series. It is so good to watch.
It really is. Oscar Isaac does the most acting in that. And he's really good. He acts against himself. For those who haven't seen the show or don't have any interest to. It's one of those things where comic books do this a lot, where they take a mental health diagnosis and they just run with it, and it's not really how it works in the real world.
Imagine Batman with multiple personality disorder, or DID. Or whatever the common terminology is. But basically, it's a superhero with split personalities, and you never know which end you're gonna get. It's always a crapshoot of whichever one turns up, and the story goes from there. And it's phenomenal. It's awesome, like pseudo science Egyptology and Egyptian gods and returning from the underworld and all sorts of
Yeah, he plays Mark Spector and Stephen Grant in it. Oscar Isaac does. He's really good in it, and he splits personalities to go back and forth or whatever, but ultimately his superhero aspect of it is there's this Egyptian god called Khonshu, and he's like the Fist of Vengeance. He's his avatar form, so he just goes around punishing the wicked,
right,
so the night can be safe or whatever. But it's really good if you haven't seen it. The penultimate episode just aired, and I think they changed it recently because it was going to be nominated. They were going to put it up for an Emmy for a limited series, which means that you only get 1 season. But Marvel on Twitter recently changed that to a season finale as opposed to a series finale. So
that's news to me.
It just happened yesterday, I think.
So they're probably coming back with another one at some point.
Yeah, there might be a season 2. I think the only other show that's got a season 2 thus far that we absolutely know about is Loki.
Right.
And so this one we might get lucky and get more Moon Knight. So.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if they were supposed to spoil that or not, but they definitely changed it. People scour Marvel so much that you can't get shit past your adoring fans. So, but yeah, so a little bit of Moon Knight, a little bit of that. But other than that, let's get into the meat and potatoes of it, man. We'll
hell yeah, man. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's do The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. As we have both seen that, aka being Nic Cage. I give the movie 6 out of 8 golden pistols.
I would put it at a 6.5 Cage scale out of 10.
Out of 10, that's reasonable.
A 6.5. It's not the most Cage-iest, but you get enough Cage.
There's just a little Susan. There's a moment where it's a 10 out of 10 Rage Cage. You get a little bit of Rage Cage, but I was actually surprised when I first saw the trailer. I thought this was just going to be him, like, oh god, he gets free reign to just be untethered. And it's not, surprisingly.
You say that like it's a bad thing, though.
No, it's not. It can get off the rails very quickly with him. But I was surprised how subdued he was in that movie. Because he plays, if you haven't seen the movie, we're going to spoil it, because that's just what the plot is.
Yeah, let's kind of just give a basic rundown of the plot so people kind of know where we're coming from.
The best I remember it, he's been kind of out of work, kind of very meta almost in a sense. He's been doing kind of like a lot of direct DVD to DVD features and stuff like that.
Right.
He's trying to
it's essentially it very much is Nic Cage playing Nic Cage,
yeah.
And there's very real aspects of his life that bleed into the movie, like his divorce with his wife, his daughter. You know, it's a whole family dynamic. There's elements of he makes reference to a lot of his own movies, and a lot of it is very self-deprecating. So if you're any kind of Nic Cage fan, and I'm trying my best to separate my fandom of Nic Cage from an actual critique of the movie, because I want to give a fair and like balanced analysis. But you do have to understand that the whole reason I went and saw this movie is because I love Nic Cage so much.
I think that's why most people go to see it.
Right.
But I will say this, if you are playing along, which we will have real deal what you've been watching bingo cards.
Eventually.
Hopefully coming soon. But if you have any Michael discusses Nic Cage on it, go ahead and just check all those boxes. Check all those boxes. It's almost like a free reign. I'll just go ahead and make a Matrix
It's almost
reference.
like a free play space.
Pretty much. And I'll give you a Matrix reference later with the Everything Everywhere All at Once references, but we'll get into that.
So you got two coming
your way. You got two coming your way. But no, I dug it though. Ultimately, like I said, the movie kind of picks up with him trying to revitalize his career.
Right.
In PH, Neil Patrick Harris plays his agent, who gets him a gig. Ultimately, what it is to fly out to like an island in Spain to do a birthday party
for a super fan who is played by Pedro Pascal,
the incomparable Mandalorian himself.
That's right.
Mr. Narcos, Pedro Pascal, and Pedro Pascal is, like Michael just said, an absolute super fan. And there's kind of as he goes to the island, he's kind of reluctant to do it, but then he meets Pedro Pascal, and that's when the movie to me really takes off. Mm-hmm. Those two actors' chemistry is very real and very palpable. You can tell that they were both having a great time being there.
100%, and they do have a very real on-screen chemistry in terms of like, not only do I believe that the characters got along, but I believe that those actors got along very, very well.
I would agree with that.
It's absolutely enchanting to see their bromance blossom and develop. And even when the turn of the movie happens and there's a real sinister undertone to it, they still kind of maintain this like frenemy kind of thing. Without getting into too much, they have a Mexican standoff with each other, and it's very, not only is it comedic and brilliant in terms of the relationship playing off of each other, but it's also very heartfelt and very like. You understand that although the plot drives us to be here, both characters don't want to be here. And I say that it's a very meta movie because at some point during the plot, Pedro Pascal's character, what's his name?
Oh crap,
Javi. Yes, Javi.
I thought we were going to have to Google that thing.
Javi tells Nic Cage that he brought him here. He's a super fan, and he wrote a script because he wants Nic Cage to produce and star in his movie. Plot twist is that Javi may or may not be a international gun smuggler who kidnapped a
political figure's
daughter in order to try and turn the election. It's brilliant comedic buddy comedy, and they do a great job of commentating on the movie as it happens. It's very, very meta in its storytelling.
They don't jam it down your throat, though. It's very, like...
Not like The Matrix Resurrected or whatever. Like, it's not as overly, like, heavy-handed. They're doing it with a little bit of wink and nod to the fourth wall, but without actually, like, smashing it down.
Yeah, they tell you ultimately, like, what the first act is going to be. Like, the first act happens, and then they pretty much tell you, as they're discussing what their movie is going to be, what the second and third act
what the plot is going to be.
Yeah, right? And that's exactly what the plot of the movie you're watching is.
So, Nic Cage ends up having to... He gets roped into a CIA operation where he's trying to spy on Javi and figure out where the kidnapped girl is. He's conflicted because he's basically fallen in love with this guy. He's a great guy. They drop acid together. They're writing a movie together. And he's just conflicted because he can't reconcile, his opinion of Javi with the image that he's being told, but also he can't reconcile his own ego with how well Javi treats him. So it's this constant dynamic of like, you're great, Nic Cage. He's like, yeah, you're right, I am.
Yeah. It's also at the same time, there's Nic Cage plays against himself in some scenes.
Literally. Yeah. Like there's young, like...
Nicky, they call him.
Yeah, like Wild at Heart kind of, or like Vampire's Kiss kind of, like that era, like Nicolas Cage.
And he's, because there's a scene like later where he's saying, he's at, the Nic Cage of the current generation is sitting there talking to Javi. And then they're kind of like, oh man, maybe I should just do smaller pictures that I want and whatever. And his younger version, Nicky, always comes in and just is like, fuck that, you're a movie star.
You're a goddamn movie star.
Yeah, and so
you didn't work for 30 years in this industry so you could be a goddamn 6 call on a call sheet.
Yeah, that's actually the line. He's like, oh, you want to just do some movie about lesbians finding themselves and you just play the sad uncle or something like that? It's like, fuck
He slaps the shit out of him. He's like, you're Nic fucking Cage.
Woo! Yeah, he crushes it, man. So, it's weird. It had like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. And people mistake that, or not, I don't know. I know some people do mistake it as like, oh, it's a 97 out of 100. It just means like, no, 90% of the people that saw this movie enjoy it.
Right. And
is it a 10 out of 10? No. Is it enjoyable as shit? Does it do a job as a movie to entertain you for its runtime?
100%, yeah. And to its credit, it is a very original movie in terms of like, I can't think of too many other movies that are like that, so at least it's not the same regurgitated Marvel story or Harry Potter story. So it is very singular in its originality and its creativity. So
yeah, he later and I agree with what you're saying. I've not seen anything that I can think of that really kind of
maybe being John Malkovich a little bit, but even that the Venn diagram overlap is just barely.
Yeah, didn't Spike Jonze do that movie, Being John?
Yes, yeah.
And he has his certain artisanal flares to him.
Right.
But no, it was a lot of fun though, man. Like the scene where he thinks that I'm not going to spoil too much. I mean, just really, there's plot line wise, you pretty much already know what it is. There's not really much to spoil if you know the plot. It's just more how everything happens and the dialogue between it. But there's a scene where he thinks that he's found the kidnapped girl on Javi's compound or whatever.
Right.
And he's like, you can't go in there. You can't go in there.
Right. Javi's basically like pleading with him, like, if you go in there, it will change our relationship and you may never see me the same again. And he swings open the doors and there's this like complete compound of like Nicolas Cage memorabilia shrine. Yep. Like, that's the axe from Mandy. Oh my God, that's the original the shirt from National Treasure. That's the whatever. He's just going through and naming all of his movies, like, and then they come to this whole like wax figurine statue of Nic Cage from Face Off, and he's got the like jacket and the golden guns and stuff. And Nic Cage asks Javi, he's like, I gotta ask, how much did you pay for this monstrosity? He's like, oh, it cost me like $6,000. Like, I'll give you 20.
Yeah. He's like, what do you think? He's like, it's grotesque.
I gotta have it.
I gotta have it. Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun though. Like you don't even really have to be a Nic Cage super fan to enjoy the movie. And I do like a lot of Nic Cage's stuff. Sometimes, again, I know Michael's about to say blasphemy here. Some of his performances get away from him a little bit.
Name one.
Point being. Yeah. But yeah, no, you don't really have to be a Nic Cage super fan to dig it though, man. I thought it was a lot of fun. It served its purpose. It's a good popcorn flick.
I really do think that if you love Nic Cage or you hate Nic Cage, the movie is for you because it's very self-indulgent, yes, but it's also very like self-aggrandizing. Like Nic Cage makes fun of himself probably more than anyone else in the movie. And so yes, like if you're worried about Nic Cage being over the top and doing his Nic Cagey things, there's very much that. But that's kind of also the point of the movie.
Right.
So how can you blame him for doing the thing that we want Nic Cage to do?
Yeah, no, they use it very tactfully. There's not too much of it over there, which I don't mind the over the top stuff. It's just sometimes I'm like, ugh.
I think they lean into it just enough. Like he doesn't. It's not like he does a Ghost Rider 2 performance or a Face Off performance where he's going so big and so grandiose. But he leans just enough into it to where you get the Nic Caginess of it.
It is a weird thing. As somebody who I just recently saw Mandy, and I have never saw like a lot of the DVD releases that he did. I do want to see Pig. Michael and I have still not sat down and watched that.
I'm going to.
Really high on the list.
I have to be prepared to be sad, and I'm just not ready to do that yet.
But no, it's as somebody. The whole point of the movie is now that. It's kind of like, hey, I'm back, and I'm back in a big bad way. If you know anything about him, he's come out recently. Apparently had some tax issues that he pretty much was just saying yes to a lot of movies that were going not to theaters and stuff like that because he just wanted to get the money back and just do the work, whatever it was necessary to get that paid off. And this is kind of a little bit, in a way, a celebration of that. Like, hey, Nic Cage is back, and you know what? We all kind of missed him a little bit.
Right. Not that he went anywhere.
Not that he went anywhere. It's a great line in the movie. Not that I went anywhere. Yeah. So yeah, again, 6 out of 8 gold guns. The only reason it might detract on its gun receiving of the review, Ike Berkowitz is in it, and Tiffany Haddish is in it. Mm-hmm. And Tiffany Haddish gets a little bit of screen time. She's more just a vessel to set him up for. She
plays the CIA agent that brings him into the whole scenario, the spy game, as it were. She's
utilized a little bit more, but she kind of just sets up the one premise where he actually has to pretend to be a spy,
right?
And that's about all she does. And then one of the other agents that's with her, he's a really funny guy. He was in Eastbound and Down. His name's Ike Berkowitz. He was really underused. He has like 2 really funny moments that you kind of see in the trailer.
But he was very much more the comedic fall to Tiffany Haddish's straight guy performance. You know what I mean? Like there's always in the comedic duo, there's always the straight guy and the fall guy.
Yeah,
and he's very much the fall guy of that.
And I understand that. I just thought that they give you a little taste of their dynamic, and it was funny for a 3-5 minute scene, whatever it is. And then they do like another 2 minutes later, and then it's kind of like, that's it.
Right.
And I understand the focus of the movie is Nic Cage, but I think he's pretty funny, and I'm kind of one of those guys that if you've done a show that I like and you show up in other places, I want to see you. It's like whenever I see the Workaholic show up somewhere.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
Hey, it's Durs, man. Hey, it's Blake. Hey, it's Adam. Like stuff like that. So when I see people from shows I like, it's just a personal thing. I'm like, hey, Ike Berkowitz, you were hilarious in season 3 of Eastbound and Down. Like, so. But other than that, fully enjoyable movie.
Yeah. I would say the best and worst part of the movie is your own interest in seeing Nic Cage do Nic Cage. If that's something that you have zero interest in, the movie will have stuff for you, but you probably won't overly enjoy it. Whereas if you're a huge Nic Cage fan, you're gonna buy into it. You're gonna live the kayfabe, and you'll probably have a good time. And also, kind of if you hate Nic Cage, it makes fun of him a lot, and so you can kind of get behind that as well.
I agree with you in a sense, but I also, in a weird way, disagree, because I think the best part of the movie is the Nic Cage. I almost said Javier Bardem because you said Javier. Pedro Pascal relationship.
Right.
It's a really good buddy comedy.
Sure, but that whole relationship is based off of him being Nic Cage.
That's why I said I agree with you, but
Right.
I kind of disagree.
Right. That is a pleasant plus,
Right.
but if Nic Cage is either a pro or a con, depending on how you look at it, this movie's not going to change your mind, is all I'm saying.
No, I agree with that.
This movie, if you hate Nic Cage, this movie's not going to make you fall in love with Nic Cage, and if you love Nic Cage, it's not his worst performance ever.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So anything else you want to talk about on Unbearable Weight of Massive, which is a great title, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It's a great title.
Yeah, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. I will say, I think that there was one comedic note that they missed.
One, Neil Patrick Harris not being in it more?
Well, that, but also, not to spoil, but in the end, they sort of, as Javi and Nic Cage write this movie, the movie basically ends with them doing the movie. And I kind of wish that they had done like a false narrative where, like, maybe they did a fake credit title that said, like, written by Bruce Willis and Pedro Pascal or something like that, like, to where it basically it shows that, like, almost like in that Tropic Thunder vein of the or the Dewey Cox of the fake real movie kind of thing, like, oh, it really was about Keanu Reeves or whatever, but all we could get was Nic Cage, or at the end of the movie where they show the movie being made, maybe they turn around and it's Bruce Willis playing the Nic Cage part, like, so Nic Cage got producership and writing credit, but the studio didn't want him in the movie
because he's not a draw.
Because he's not a draw, right? Exactly. Right. They had to get Bruce Willis or whatever, right? So, or Zac Efron or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that was my own. Like, I just kind of walked away being like, I could have written a better ending for that.
Well, Michael, there's always hope for a sequel. Okay, well, cool. Yeah, recommended Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. We are going to move on. I did not see this movie. I'm going to segue a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of give Michael the floor here. There's a Robert Eggers movie. He is the director of The Witch and The Lighthouse.
Right.
And he just came out with a movie that has one of those handsome Skarsgårds, in my opinion, the most handsome of Skarsgårds, the Alexander Skarsgård of Tarzan fame and True Blood.
Right.
Yeah, he did
one sexy vampire, bro.
Yeah. But I love the joke I made in a previous podcast, which I'm going to say it here again. If you've been living that long and you're broke in Mississippi, just walk into the sun. Just walk into the sun. But no, he dropped a movie, Robert Eggers did, and it's called The Northman, and it's ultimately a Hamlet tale.
It is, actually. The main character's name is, I believe, Amlish, or Amleth.
You know, say?
Yeah, I think it's Amleth is how they pronounce it. But with that very Nordic, Icelandic accent, it sounds like Hamlet. It's
Hamlet.
very... Yeah, Hamlet. It is very much that. I liked it. It was... Robert Eggers, if you've seen The Witch or you've seen The Lighthouse, has a very cerebral motif to his movies. Like, you're never really sure what's real and what's fantasy, and what's if what you're really seeing is how we're actually supposed to interpret the movie, or if it's left open for interpretation, or you know what I mean? Like, he's got a very, very surrealist sort of approach to movies.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, a lot of his stuff is very, like, heady, as it were.
Yeah.
And
beautiful scenery, beautiful like location shots. Very, very much. It's all about ambiance and atmosphere.
In his previous movie, The Witch, I know that he had stepped to the cinematographer or the director of photography, which is sometimes one and the same, but I'm not really sure how it worked on that movie.
Right.
I don't want to give somebody credit that, whatever.
Right. I'm sure that there's a difference there. I could not tell you what the difference is.
I'm not versed enough to tell you, but I know that, like, he has like real weird things that he likes to do, and he'll like live and die by that. And like the witch, he said, I want it all to be naturally lighted, so there was no like artificial lighting. Everything was candles, moonlight, fires, candles, moonlight, fires, and he made the whole movie like that.
Right.
And so,
which made for a kind of difficult in terms of like shooting during the day. Like if there's certain cloud cover, you can't, between different shots, the light looks different, and you can't use that. So it does make for a very difficult shoot in terms of you have to make sure that the sunlight is the exact same as the previous shot, and the wind isn't blowing because, if it's still in one in one shot or one scene, and then it's whipping through the trees in the next, your brain notices that.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of his. I want to definitely watch this, but I've heard, I read a review that was kind of spoiler free, and the general consensus I hear, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, is that it's more linear than anything else he's done. Like you were saying, everything else is kind of a little bit cerebral. I know we've said that word a few times, but and it's not quite like The Witch. Nothing really happens in that movie until kind of the end. I mean, stuff happens. I'm not saying it like that.
Well,
but
it's a slow build. It's very much build, like I said, building ambiance and building atmosphere, and I wouldn't say nothing happens in that movie. It's spaced out so much that you really have to wait in anticipation for the thing to happen. Then the thing happens, then it's another long break until the next thing happens.
Yeah, I didn't mean nothing happened. There would be no movie if nothing happened. Right. I overgeneralized in that term, but yeah. And like The Lighthouse also, the basic plot, I mean, is just kind of like...
two people going crazy because of isolation.
Yeah, and that's just what it is. And then like The Witch is kind of like, oh, this Puritan family gets kicked out of their village because they're too Puritan for their own good.
I've always explained The Witch as... it's a horror movie about what would happen if the Puritans were 100% right.
In what way?
In terms of like, oh no, the devil actually is trying to come get you, and witches are real, and 100% like, what would happen if the Puritans absolutely were correct in their beliefs?
I've never heard that, but I 100% agree.
Yeah. It's a horrifying idea.
So all that being said, do you think that the Northman is a little bit more linear?
It is. It's okay. Let me start by saying the first half is very much the Robert Eggers movie in terms of very cerebral, kind of a mind twisty. Like you're not real sure what's real and what may be fantasy or drug induced. There's a scene where the young prince, his dad, played by Ethan Hawke, who's the king, takes him to go see a shaman played by Willem Dafoe, and they all, they're acting like animals and dropping acid and releasing their animalistic nature, reverting to their primeval selves. And it's a lot of crazy visuals, and like the floor drops out and there's nothing but the universe underneath this kid's feet, and like very, very cool visual setups. But it's basically him. It's his commemoration into the royal family, as far as like, now you are next in line, and if your father dies in battle, it is your job to avenge him and defend your kingdom, your family, and your people. And so that sort of becomes the motif through the movie of, I must avenge my father, I must save my mother, I must free my people. So the first half, when it's the main character Amleth is a little kid, and then it's very much Hamlet, betrayed by his mother, by his uncle, and they kill his father. He witnesses it. He runs away. Then the second half of the movie very much becomes a linear revenge story, where he learns about the status of his uncle and how he was ousted from his kingdom and ran to a new place, and he learns about his mother now has a new child and all sorts of stuff, and they're sort of living their dejected kingdom in a foreign land, and he's like, I must avenge my people, and I must claim my kingdom. And so from that point on, it very much becomes a linear story. But there is still very much a Robert Eggers cinematic style in terms of everything shot on location. And so you get the beautiful vistas of the fjords and the valleys of Iceland and the rolling hills, and it's the color palette between the grays and the greens and the blues and sort of like things pop and they look very, very surreal in terms of how visually bright they are, but you know that inherently that's a natural setting, and so it looks natural at the same time.
Yeah, he does like to shoot natural.
Yeah. So there is that. So it's very much in his style, not necessarily his narrative, is how I would put that.
Okay. The only other thing I noticed that Robert Eggers does a lot is, I know The Witch, when he wrote that, it was, he really leaned into, the Puritan dialogue.
Yes.
And even, the Lighthouse, they speak a certain way, and sometimes, I'm just going to be honest, it's very, they speak in riddles, and it's, very, metaphorical. Sometimes
it's
I get
very
lost.
Daunting, yeah.
And I've always been impressed by his ability to do that. And sometimes, I still follow the movie because I'm an avid moviegoer. I'm not a dum-dum when it comes to movies,
sure.
I don't think. But
I had to watch The Witch with the subtitles just because they do speak in a very puritanical dialect, and if you're not familiar with it, you can very much get lost in sort of the prose of what they're saying.
To me, yeah, that part did it, and I know we're talking about The Witch and The Northman and all of his movies kind of at once, but whatever. It's what we do.
True. What you've been watching fashion.
Hey, what you've been watching. But, no, the other thing I noticed is, and this is just with The Witch, I don't think it was even the sound editor or the sound designer, wherever it was, whoever was in charge of that. The actor's voice that plays the dad, it is so gravelly and deep that it just blends into the background.
Yeah.
And I could not understand, even if I could follow the actual dialogue of what he was saying and comprehend it, I couldn't hear it. It was just very much so, and it just all blended into. And he's a great actor. His performance is wonderful, and I don't knock him for the way his voice sounds.
Sure,
but it was just this shit just blended into the woods. I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
But to what you're saying, as far as the sound design, he very much tried to incorporate the natural sounds of the woods and the farm, and so even the music cutting out, and all you hear is the farm, the wind blowing through, or you'll hear the sounds of nature as the music drops out, and they build toward another climactic scene.
Yeah.
So I would agree. Yeah, he very much does play with sound and the lack thereof. It's almost like jazz. It's not the notes you're playing; it's the notes you're not playing.
Jazz music. Oh man, yeah, but no, I hear you on that one, and I just know that sometimes his dialogue can be really almost grandiose.
Yes,
and I think actors want to sign on to do stuff with him because of that. It gives them a lot to work with, of where you can really swing forward emotionally. Right. Especially Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Pattinson very much so doesn't talk a whole lot in that movie.
Talking about Batman?
Yeah, the new Batty Man. He doesn't talk a lot in that movie, but Willem Dafoe, he has 5 or 6 scenes where he just gets worked up because
he has great monologues in that movie.
Yeah, no, he does, but I'm saying Robert Pattinson will say something and Willem Dafoe will take great offense to it, and then he just goes off on these tirades.
Right.
And it's partly because he's going batshit crazy, but part of it's also just what the fuck is this guy talking about? You know what I mean?
But that's the genius of that movie. Is it just takes you on this emotional roller coaster of I want to see how this develops, and I know that it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
I know where it ends up. One of these motherfuckers is going to end up getting an axe to the forehead.
Yeah.
I don't know which one.
But I guess I bring all that up is, do you think that this, because he really does it, he goes grandiose in the dialogue, and it's very much so.
The dialogue on this one is very much, it's more simplistic to follow, for sure.
Okay.
I would definitely say that this is his most straightforward of movies.
Okay.
If you're not a huge Robert Eggers fan, this would be a good jumping on point. And essentially, like I said, it's Hamlet, it's Gladiator, it's all these big blockbuster revenge stories that we've seen time and time again. He's just putting his own sort of visual cinematic spin on it, which is, again, great to see. Like, the finale ends, they have a fight on a volcano.
Hell yeah.
So...
Did somebody get kicked in the volcano?
I don't want to spoil it, but
if a motherfucker gets kicked in a volcano...
There may be some hot molten magma burns that happen.
Look, if a motherfucker gets kicked in a volcano, take my money. I don't care what movie's going on there, I'll watch that shit. Bow! Straight to the chest and in the volcano with you. It's like the 300. There's plenty of earth and water down there, and it kicks the shit out that dude.
That's right.
Oh, man. But yeah, so what's the review? 4 out of 4 bloody corpses?
I'm gonna give it 3.5 out of 5 bloody eagles.
Bloody eagles. You heard it there. Cool. Well,
I will say, okay, it is weird in terms of like you were talking earlier about how he's Robert Eggers is a slave to like authenticity and stuff like that.
Yeah, to his benefit though. Yeah,
I will say that there was a weird part, and this is going to be... I don't know really how to frame this without sounding like an asshole, so I'm just going to go ahead and just plow through it. There's this weird aspect of the Viking culture in terms of, like, they address slavery and, like, you know, rape and pillaging and stuff like that. There's this weird aspect of it to where, like, that Alexander Skarsgård... like as the main character is strangely removed from all that. Like he's the one Viking that doesn't participate in any of that. And it's this kind of weird, like, heroic ploy to make you, like, on his side. Like, oh, I'm all about Viking culture, but not that part of the Viking culture. And they never actually, like, fully show... like, it's not graphic or anything. But it's very heavily implied and I mean, literally the Anna Taylor-Joy character is stolen as a slave from Russia to be brought back to Iceland as a slave.
Shit.
But
shout out to Anna Taylor-Joy. Underrated performance. I know she's been nominated for an Oscar, but so I guess that you technically don't qualify. Who hasn't been? Alexander Skarsgård. You get your underrated performance of the week.
There you go.
We're bringing it back, people.
Specifically for your work in Battleship with Rihanna.
Oh, man. Dude, he got to work... This is our tangents that we're going to go off on. He got to work with the incomparable Craig Brewer. Craig Brewer is the director of Hustle and Flow and Black Snake Moan, and he wrote the Tarzan movie. So I didn't even see Tarzan, but you get an underrated performance of the week for your work in Tarzan. Because you got to take Craig Brewer's shit to the screen, and I fuck with that guy. He also did Dolomite Is My Name, which is a great comedy if you haven't seen.
So anyway, sorry. Just it was, for me, it was weird. Like, I just sort of noticing how, like, oh, they are completely removing the hero from this aspect of, like, very controversial Viking culture. Like,
yeah,
just to make him the hero you want to get behind. Like,
that was probably intentional. I would think
100%. Just that one of my few criticisms of the movie is just like, oh, like, he doesn't want to be that Viking.
Yeah, to be honest though, I can kind of appreciate that in a sense, and I do understand why you might have a qualm with that because there's a way to show it. I'd much rather you understand that it's implied because he does make, in my personal opinions, movie for smart moviegoers.
Sure.
And I'd much rather it be subtle and implied than fucking way heavy-handed. And this is going to be blasphemous to some people, but like Quentin Tarantino, where it's just like, I get it, the slave thing, got it.
Right.
Or it's like when the bride is in Kill Bill is coming back and like they give you all these reasons for revenge, and it just keeps going. It's like, and I got shot, and I lost a kid, and I was raped in the hospital, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
Right. It's get a tragic female figure. Like, you needed maybe one of those, not all 7.
Yeah, and it's so heavy-handed, where you're just like, okay, cool, man. Like,
yeah.
So, to me, sometimes stuff like that, I can appreciate a little bit more. It's like, we get it. I don't necessarily need to see that, because it's like, it is graphic, and sometimes it's, if you're just doing it for shock value, then to me that's, I don't know, I don't appreciate shit like that. Unless it's a strictly, if I'm going into some B horror movie, yeah, shock value all day. Hit me with it.
Sure.
If it's a comedy and it's a dick joke and you're going to show the dick, go for it, man. If that's what it's for. Like, if you're just going to be heavy-handed with it, again, I'm one to side with, like, the less is more sometimes with stuff like that.
I agree. It's one of those, there's a way to do that tastefully.
Right.
if it becomes a crutch of the movie in terms of like, well, this is all about rape or torture or violence or whatever, then it's leaning too hard on spectacle, or leaning too hard on trying to really evoke a very particular emotion that maybe doesn't need to be evocative. Like there's a more subtle, more creative way to bring about that emotion other than like, well, my daughter was raped and had her head stoved in by, and then they kicked my dog and lit my truck on fire, and like, all right, cool,
it's
cool,
like,
cool.
Like, okay, I'll give you some examples here of what I'm talking about. And I know we're just kind of getting in a general movie discussion, but hey, that's what we do here, man. This is a little more real deal. But like, for example, like, to me, it's lowbrow when people do stuff like that. Sure. And I'm not above lowbrow. Like, Jackass movie. I know it's going to be a lowbrow comedy. Sure. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
Okay? And now, for example, a movie like A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey, the great Samuel L. Jackson, that's the line, yes, they deserve to die and I hope they burn in hell.
Sandy Bullocks.
And America's Sweetheart, Sandy Bullocks is in that. Now, the premise of that is Sammy Jackson is obviously a black man in the South, and these dudes come and take his daughter and rape her and drag her behind a truck, and it's graphic as shit.
Right.
They
don't actually show it, but like again, they talk about it to death.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, it's not what you show, but it's how you show it.
Sure.
But a movie like that needs to lean on the graphic part of how bad it is, because he ends up, spoiler alert, he ends up killing these two guys, and the whole movie without him going to trial. And he's going to plead insanity and say, oh, temporary insanity, I was out of my mind and I was angry and did this.
Right. I was so distraught by what happened to my daughter that I saw no other reason other than to kill these guys.
Right. And so eventually, as he's pleading temporary insanity, and they reiterate what happened to his daughter. That's Matthew McConaughey's whole point.
Right.
He's the lawyer in that of Samuel L. Jackson. He's trying to get him off or lessen the sentence, whatever. And eventually the prosecution gets Samuel L. Jackson to crack, and he said, ask him about when he killed him, or did they deserve to die? And he says, yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. Therefore, foregoing his insanity plea.
Right.
But like a movie like that, where they show it and it's pretty graphic, but they don't lean on it as much, I appreciate that. They do talk about it to death, and it is graphic. But also, it's the difference in between a rated R movie and a PG-13 movie. If you just show someone getting their head cut off and blood spurting out, guess what? That's a rated R.
Sure.
Now, if you show someone's head falling off and you see the silhouette of their shadow and the head rolls, guess what? That can be a PG-13.
Right.
Still, I understand.
Green blood or
yeah, Martians is all day.
Right.
Nobody gives a fuck about extraterrestrials. Fucking mow them people down.
You can show as much blood as you want as long as it's not red and human.
Yeah. But you understand my point, though, of like, it's not what you show, it's how you show it.
Sure, yes, yeah.
And so when it comes to like, and I didn't even ask you, like, how violent is the movie? Which, again, I'm not I love violent movies, I love all this shit. I'm more just curious.
It is pretty violent in terms of, I mean, there's definitely, you see him, like, cutting off a dude's head, and you see him, like, he cuts open a dude's stomach, and then the dude wanders into a hole and his guts are spilling out and he's going blah,
But see, I would expect that in a Viking revenge tale.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. Like, you never see any of the sexual assault, you never see any of the, like, sort of behind the scenes. You see it as the camera is panning across the village after they've conquered and taken this village by force. So you see, like, implications of it, or you see the beginnings of it, but you never actually see it happen on screen.
Right.
And then he does a very good job of Alexander Skarsgård's character is completely removed. Like, he's the one that's meditating in the town square while all this is going on, or like staring off in the distance thinking about vengeance for his family while all this is happening around him. Like, dude, like,
yeah,
literally what's happening to your family is happening around you, and yet you can separate yourself and be like, this is okay. Like,
compartmentalization of
the
highest accord.
Yes.
Shit. No, I hear you, though. I know that was a long tangent for me to get to all that.
It's a conversation worth having, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Well, cool. Well, yeah, The Northman. So I'm going to check it out. I'll let you guys back know in a week. Do you want to take a break so we can fuel our sponsors? And we are back. We want to thank our sponsor, the Umbrella Corporation, for all your pharmaceutical needs and non-zombie related cosmetic materials. Anyways, yeah. So that got a little more heavy-handed than we wanted it there, but that's all right. We also saw one other movie that we are going to dive into. This is the one we really, really, really want to talk about. I believe this is the meat of the meat and potatoes. Four bunch of words all together that might not make any sense, but everything, everywhere, all at once. I'm going to say it again because I will plug this movie to the end of the earth.
Yeah.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. 10 out of 10, whatever you want. 11 out of 11, whatever you want.
This movie is spectacular, and I mean that in the most literal sense. It is a spectacle to see.
Yeah.
How do we even start this one?
I don't even know.
Like I could tell you what this movie is about. Like I could read you the back of the Blockbuster box, but even that doesn't do it justice because it's about so much more. Essentially, this movie is Michelle Yeoh. And I can't think of the character's name. We're going to have to research that one.
It is Evelyn.
Evelyn, yes. Evelyn works at a laundromat with her husband and her daughter. And essentially, it's about her boring life until she learns how to tap into the abilities and memories of all of her alternate reality selves in order to become a better woman. And yet also it's about a family that is falling apart and one woman's quest in order to keep her life together in some sort of semblance of order and maintain, or not even maintain, rekindle the love that she had for her father and her daughter and her husband.
And herself.
Yeah. So it's... this movie is so complex and so forward-thinking that it's about so many things plot-wise, but yet the emotional implications are so much more. Like, I don't know how to describe it better than that. Help me out.
I mean, that was a hell of an elevator pitch, to be honest with you. I'll read just what it says. It says, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is a genre-breaking multiverse film layered with deeply emotional messages for its viewers as one woman, Michelle Yeoh, comes to terms with the life she has chosen and the family that she must relearn how to love. So you actually did a pretty damn good job on the elevator pitch.
But again, that's the back of the box pitch, and yet the movie is about so much more. It's so visually entertaining. It's comedic. It's heartfelt. It's tragic. It's exciting. It's
hilarious. Outright hilarious.
It is hilarious. So let's just with no semblance of order, let's just jump into it and talk about it because it's going to be hard to talk about this without... It's such a random movie in itself.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, there's some comparisons in the sense of The Matrix and the fact that it's genre bending.
In terms of she can download other personalities and other skills and traits from... So Michelle Yeoh basically is living her life, her boring life, and then all of a sudden... A threat to the multiverse appears, and her husband. Oh yeah, so there's a threat to the multiverse that appears. All right, and when she's out there living her boring life or whatever, all of a sudden she's in an elevator with her husband as they are going to go do a tax audit, and her husband is overtaken by a version of himself that they call the alpha version of himself, and I forget the character's name. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It is Waymond, yes. Who, by the way, is played by Short Round, a.k.a. Data from the Goonies, and his name is Kehu Kwan? I'm going to butcher the shit out of this.
Something like that. Let me find it real quick. Oh, shit.
But basically, it's Data. It's Short Round from the Indiana Jones series.
Kehu Kwan? Yeah.
Kehu Kwan, okay. And... my God, is he phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah. So Alpha Waymond is what they call him. He comes from the multiverse. It's like the Alpha is what they call it. Those are the people that first learned how to multiverse jump and to take the abilities from other people. And in order to do that, they have to do really odd and bizarre things. So there's a scene where like he has to give himself paper cuts between his fingers in order to learn an ability to escape from danger.
Right.
And so it's all sorts of wacky shit that goes on in order for them to learn how to like get the abilities from a multiversal version of themselves. At one point, Michelle Yeoh, she swallows like a little stone like paperweight frog.
Right.
And then they have these little Bluetooth speakers in their ears, and you press the button on the side of your head, and you are transported to that world, and you have their memories and their skill set and things like that.
It's almost like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where like their ship had the improbability field, where like in order to access these memories or access these abilities, you have to do something that's so random that it would never occur to you to happen in the world. So like there's a scene where, like he said, Waymond has to give himself paper cuts in between all of his fingers. Or there's a scene where somebody has to shove something up their butt in order to learn how to do kung fu.
And it is a hilarious. Yeah.
Because it's the most improbable thing that you would do in that situation. And in order to open up the neural pathway to access your alternate reality self, you have to do this improbable thing. So it's this really mind-bendy, twisty action comedy.
It's almost in a sense like it doesn't really it does matter, but in a sense it doesn't really matter what it is to, as long as you can take the multiversal things, like whatever the parameters of this movie are, the sooner you can just accept it and just go, okay, multiverse jumping, they get the abilities, whatever, just roll with it and take it. There's so much more to it than that. That is simply the means to get to the end.
Right.
In my personal opinion. And Michelle Yeoh has been one of the greatest to ever do it. She is in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Super Cop.
Fucking everything. And she is so good at what she does. And she's incredible in this movie. Really, all the performances are great. Jamie Lee Curtis puts on some like fat suits and prosthetics and stuff to play the tax auditor.
Yeah, she's this really frumpy, sort of waspy, down on her luck, middle management, like perma middle management type character who's just always really dour and always sort of a real stickler for the rules.
Yeah, and she has a lot of great lines in the movie. I'm going to try to read some of them here. I pulled up a couple quotes because, again, there's so much good stuff. Like
Okay, so plot-wise, she learns how to access her alternate reality self. So there's a version of her that she learns to access where she's literally Michelle Yeoh, like she's this action, like Chinese action star, so she knows kung fu. There's a version of herself where she learns how to. There's a version of herself that's hibachi chef, and so she's learning how to do knife tricks and cut things and stuff like that. That also leads into a really good Ratatouille joke.
Yes, the Raccoonie.
Raccoonie, yeah. There's a version of herself where she's trying to fight off a group of enemies, and she accesses one of those like sign spinners that you see on the corner.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So she steals one of the riot shields, and she accesses the sign spinner personality, and so now she's spinning the shield around herself and tackling people and throwing it like Captain America, and it's this really spectacular action sequence. There's a scene where Waymond basically accesses how to do nunchucks, but with a fanny pack, and he's doing this very Jackie Chan-esque sort of comedic action sequence where he's just kicking security guards' asses by flinging his fanny pack into their faces and wrapping it around their legs and pulling them up and hanging them upside down, or like roundhousing them in the face and then wrapping around his leg and then smacking them in the stomach or whatever.
Yeah, the action is the shit in it, and y'all know very well by now I'm a huge kung fu movie buff, and it passes all my tests. It's so it's all that stuff happens, and ultimately what it is the reason that they're seeking out this Evelyn is that they believe that she can save the multiverse as they learn that there is a threat coming to take everything away, just end it all. And just say, and we find out, please go see the movie. We're going to spoil it here. Please, if you have not seen it, pause this. Seeing that movie is more important than this. I promise you. We're just rambling nonsense here. This movie is one of my favorite films I've ever seen. I've not left the theater feeling the way that I felt watching that film in a very long time.
It is probably one of the best movies that I've seen in at least the last couple of years, just in terms of originality and cinematography and storyline.
Yeah.
It is so unlike anything that's out there right now.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself deserves high praises.
Yes. So go see the movie real quick. I'm going to tell you.
Hit a pause.
Yeah, hit pause. Go see the movie.
We'll wait.
Yep.
You good? Okay.
Great movie, wasn't it? So no, but what we find out is ultimately a version of her daughter called Jobu has become this super nihilistic force, and she's the one that can tap into everything, and she is the one that is going to end it all. And what we think is that she's going to end it all. And this movie has so many good quotes, and it's this weird thing where it's like, in the wrong sense, like if you're on the wrong day or a bad day, I think we've all felt this way, where like the nihilistic approach to everything is so frightening. And there's a line that says, here, let me read it real quick. Every new discovery is just a reminder we're all small and stupid. And you learn of like these vast discoveries that we're making, not only here on our planet, but like if you think about space and how it's constantly expanding. Sure. And, like, we're not even grains of sand in the glass, and our problem seems so big.
Right.
And, like, it in a weird way, that nihilistic approach is, like, really frightening and absolutely, like, just downright terrifying for me. I lose sleep over it sometimes.
Yeah.
And how little I matter in the impact I have in the world. Now, this movie also challenged you to think that, like, yes, because nothing matters, all you have is these series of small moments.
Sure.
And you should spend them not only with the ones you love, but just being happy. And it's like, if it doesn't matter, like, then you're free to pursue the things that you want to do. And there's something incredibly liberating in the sense that you're right, it doesn't matter. And it is frightening. But guess what? Like, you're in it just like everybody else. So do what you love, man. Be happy. Spread. And it's and this movie balances that line as Evelyn, as we know her in the universe that we're most familiar with, as she begins to travel this multiverse. And her daughter is ultimately, I'm going to say this word, and you take it, let it, leave it. She's kind of become a god in a sense, where she can pretty much do whatever.
It's not her daughter directly, but it's one of the alternate reality versions of her daughter.
Yes, right. Jobu, we'll call her.
Right.
Jobu has become ultimately like a god, where she can transfer anything to anything at any moment in a weird way.
But here's the thing: she achieves this by, in her world, they learn about the multiverse and reality jumping and stuff like that, and the Michelle Yeoh character trains her daughter to be a universal traveler, and so
it fractures her mind.
It fractures her mind in terms of trying to understand the entirety of the multiverse. And so the reason she becomes nihilistic is she puts literally everything on a bagel. All of reality, every homework, every dog picture she's ever seen, every emotion, every piece of history, she decides to compact all
and
of that.
Salt, she says.
And salt. A little salt. Yeah. Right. She decides to put it on a bagel, and she ultimately decides that it means nothing.
Yeah. Which is hilarious, but
when one decides to put everything on a bagel and then decides that the universe is completely empty, that's a really strong philosophic stance. You know what I mean? Like, again, like I could tell you what this movie is about, but it's about so much more.
I feel like no matter how much praise or however well we try to describe this is not going to do it service. They do it so eloquent, and it's so much. It's the directors are the Daniels, and it's Daniel something and Daniel something else. But their thing that they go by is just the Daniels. And they also directed the movie Swiss Army Man,
which is
another
great
good movie.
Yeah,
it's on Netflix if you haven't seen it. But yeah, so these two guys, it's like they came out of left field, and it's like, who the fuck are these guys? These guys are masters of their craft. Like, it was like when I saw like Kung Fu Hustle for the first time.
Yes.
And it was like, this Stephen Chow guy is off the fucking hook, man.
Well, it's one of those, they understand the genre so well that they were able to, you can't reconstruct the wheel without understanding first how the wheel rolls.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and they understood the genre so well that they were able to deconstruct it and reform it in their own image into something that was so much more than what the genre could originally offer. At its heart, it is an action martial arts movie. At its heart.
Yeah.
But then there's so many other elements that include philosophy and emotionality and what it means to be a family.
Yeah.
And, like, essentially, I mean, like I said, I've said it before, this movie is essentially about a family that is being broken apart and what one woman is willing to do to reconnect that family.
Yeah. I'm going to read some quotes here because it's the only way I know how to segue to somewhat talk about the things that we want to talk about.
Sure.
And so Jobu, her daughter from the daughter that put everything on the bagel and is destroying everything. At one point, she's looking for Evelyn, and she says she thinks that she wants to end everything and that she wants to kill Evelyn. That's what Michelle Yeoh's character. She's like, "Oh, you want to kill me?" And Jobu says this to her. She says, "I wasn't looking for you so I could kill you. I was just looking for someone who could see what I see, feel what I feel."
Yeah.
She wanted someone to understand the multiverse as she did. And that's so she seeks out this other multiversal version of her mother, who eventually learns all the tricks of the trade and learns how to, well, kind of stumbles her way into understanding everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah.
And she only wants to do that so she could finally have someone to relate to in the nothingness before it all ended. And it's kind of fucked up but beautiful in the same way.
It's one of the most basic human emotions is I want to feel a connection before I die.
Yep.
It really is what it's all about is we're all looking for these little connections, our little spider webs of involvement and love and friendship and relationship. We're all looking for just someone to finally have the moment of, I understand you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is essentially what the movie is about. Not only but again, it's not about understanding through other people. It's also Michelle Yeoh reaches an understanding of herself.
Of herself, very much so.
Again, so like I said, it's about a family falling apart, and so through this interdimensional travel, she learns how to fix her relationship with herself and her daughter and her husband. Like one of the main plots of the movie is that her husband is secretly seeking a divorce, and she finds out in the most inopportune manner, and then has to deal with that. And
right.
One of the scenes is when she taps into her alternate reality selves. She taps into this, like, it's almost like Michelle Yeoh meta tapping into Michelle Yeoh. She taps into this version of herself that is a Chinese action star.
Yep.
And has fame and fortune, and she's winning all the accolades and all the awards. And then at some point, she meets the man who was supposed to be her husband, but because of a kind of like sliding doors situation, she decided instead of going with him and marrying and going to America, she was going to stay in China and pursue her dreams. She reconnects with him, and she tries to relate to him that, you know, I'm living these lives that I've tapped into, and I have all these different personalities and all these different abilities, and in this other world, all I do with you is just laundry and taxes. And he has this beautiful line of regret and empathy where he says, like, I've built a really good life for myself, and I don't regret you leaving me and pursuing your dream because I've done well for myself. But I would have loved any reality where all I do with you is laundry and taxes.
What a
and it's a
line.
beautiful, sentimental, like, oh my God, that's all I want is just somebody connect with and just do laundry and taxes
Just grow old with you, like
just that's it.
And he's very much so portrayed the Wayman character in most of the realities as kind of weak and bumbling.
Yeah,
except for the alpha version of himself and
which knows kung fu and knows
he's learned skills to be able to do this stuff and
computer hacking and all this,
that stuff. And the version where that Michael was just describing, in which Michelle Yeoh, the reality where Michelle Yeoh ultimately was Michelle Yeoh.
Evelyn
was Michelle Yeoh. And so he's really portrayed as like weak and, like I said, kind of like meek and naive. And I think he had all the lines in that movie that made me cry. Like, this movie will sneak up on you in the sense of I'll be laughing because something's genuinely hilarious. Right. I just watched a guy try to shove the award that a character gets for being the best tax auditor is like a little dildo statue. So like 1 second I'm watching somebody trying to literally jump over a desk to put that up his butt so he can learn a skill to defeat Evelyn. Right. And then the next second I'm crying and I'm like, wait a second, like, you can't do that.
Right.
But he says something, Waymond, and when he finally talks to the Evelyn that's a movie star, he says, "When I choose to see the good side of things, I'm not being naive. It is strategic and necessary. It's how I've learned to survive through everything." And he even continues to say, "This is how I fight.
Right.
You choose to fight your way, and I choose to fight my way." I'm going to read that quote one more time. "When I choose to see the good side of things, I'm not being naive. It is strategic and necessary. It's how I learned to survive through everything." And now, as somebody who, maybe this is just, I'm not trying to be egotistical here, I really do, and I think Michael could maybe attest to this, I really do try to give people the benefit of the doubt.
I'm not backing you up on that.
Yeah. I really do try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I really do try to show empathy and compassion. I fall short of it all too often. I am human. I think we all are. But there's something about, I'm always told that, I've always been told by a lot of people, you're too nice, you're too nice, you're too apologetic, you're too nice, you're too kind. And when I finally heard somebody say that, oh my God, it was like a burden off my shoulders. I can finally have something to point to on the screen and go like, this is why I do it. I'm fighting the same fight. I just take such a different approach.
Right.
And it's like, and I'm not saying I am this character. I'm not trying to come across as like, what a good guy I am.
He has I'm going to butcher this, but he has basically a line that says, "I choose kindness."
I'm going to see if I can find that line. Man. Yeah, keep going for a minute.
I'm sorry. So
here it is. He has a line. It says, "The only thing I do know is that we have to be kind. Yeah. Please be kind, especially when we don't know what's going on." Like, come on, man. Just be kind, especially when we don't know what's going on. Like, that is such a beautiful line from this guy who seems so weak and is not afraid to be vulnerable. And everything he's doing is like, I don't like being audited by this. His wife is a little bit bossy and kind of this and that and the third. And he comes across as like this meek, kind of weak, like, she definitely wears the pants in this relationship. But like, he is a vital factor in his family's dynamic and the happiness of everyone around him. And he falls on the sword, and all he does is look weak for doing it. And it's like, you are the toughest person in this fucking room at this moment, in most rooms you go to, because you approach things with humility and kindness.
It's this weird dynamic of, within the movie, all of his personalities that we get to see, whether it's the alpha version or the original universe version or whatever it may be, is he's so kind, and all he wants to do is just be useful and be helpful and be
of service.
Be of service to it. Like, he's getting henpecked by his wife. His daughter doesn't see him as a man. His in the alpha version, he's constantly pursued and persecuted because of him trying to save the universe. But all he wants to do is the right thing. And he's really bad at it. He's horrible in every version of it. He fails constantly. But to him, it's not in the victory, it's in the attempt. And it's him. Yeah. It's this great character analysis of every version of him just wants to do right. he's completely inept and he's completely horrible at his job, but he has the best of intentions. And there's a part of him that's just like, doesn't that fucking count for something?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful. And I guess one of the reasons why Evelyn... It's hard to keep track of which Evelyn we're talking about. I understand, like through an audio podcast.
You have to watch it to understand. It's just go see it. Do yourself the favor. Like, this is the... If you believe anything that we have on this podcast right now, go watch this movie and see if it doesn't emotionally charge you in some way.
Right.
You will absolutely walk out of this and feel some sort of way about
something.
Yourself, your relationship. It's beautiful in terms of, it's so broad that it covers all the emotions, but yet it's so specific that you will find something that relates to you specifically.
I 100% agree with that. 100%. And it's also, you learn that like this main character, Evelyn, is, I guess like the big thing at the end is the why she was selected to be the savior of this multiverse is, she has failed. What she believes is that she's failed conclusively at everything, and that's never been brought to her attention.
Right, her marriage, her relationship with her daughter,
she never
her
pursued
business.
her dreams.
Right,
she never went for any. She never took any stress. She just played it safe constantly. And so why she's chosen, and it says every rejection, every disappointment has led you here to this moment, and that to me brought me so much solace in the sense of like it ain't over yet. Whatever mistakes you made to get you here, you are still here, and that is still very much so a part of your story. And at the very end, she somewhat saves the day in her daughter, and she's the most beautiful line after she traverses all these multiversal versions of herself, and she could literally escape into any one of these lives. She comes back to her daughter, who resents her and has been treated a certain way by her whole life, and she says to her, "Of all the places I could be, I just want to be here with you." And it's
beautiful.
It's beautiful,
man. Yeah.
And I think, and I'm
gonna... What was it? You said something earlier about like it's weird that now we're experiencing movies where parents are apologizing to their kids.
Yeah, it's a weird. I think there's a generation of filmmakers, and I think Michael, you just said it. Yeah, we're finally seeing films where parents are apologizing to their children, and it's like, wait. You know, like we get all, like, my generation gets all the shit of like, oh, you're the participation trophy.
Right.
It's like, who do you think gave us the participation trophy?
Right.
Like,
we didn't give a fuck. All we wanted was the pizza party. We didn't give a fuck about the trophies.
You couldn't
that was you guys.
Yeah, you couldn't handle that some of your kids fucking suck at t-ball.
Right.
And so we all got one. It's like, so no, you really are the participation one. And I'm not one of these people that likes to point out like big differences in generation. I really do believe we're all just trying to do the best we can or whatever. But like, I think there's something about this movie that speaks to my generation. Of all the people that I know that are my age, both my brothers, a couple of friends of mine, they've all said the same thing. Like, this movie is one of my top tier favorite movies.
Sure.
And it's something about looking at things from a different way and being like, you know, maybe the things that I've been doing, I've never really tried to understand why they do things or why there was a resentment. Yeah, the impact of it.
Yeah.
And while everyone's forgiven, you know, at least in my sense of like, I understand everyone's just trying to do the best they can, but like, maybe it is time to look at things and say like, hey, what is my part in all this? You know?
Sure.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person or anything like that.
Right.
But there's a level of accountability that I'm seeing current filmmakers do in the sense of like, at least to me that are portraying this, like the movie Turning Red's another great example. It's just like parents apologizing for stuff. It kind of makes me feel good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. So I think it may speak to my generation more than it would maybe an older or even a younger generation. I don't know if, again, I don't know, but
now is that because our generation has been so set upon in terms of like hearing the drive and hearing like, here's what you need to do, here's the plan, here's the plan, here's the plan, and then not understanding that the implications and the traumas of our parents being passed on to us in terms of like, I'm getting lost in this.
No, I got you. I think I get what you're saying. Yeah, and it's also to the sense of like, for example, I know some people like that are my father's age, or they say, oh, well, my parents just kicked the shit out of me. Right. And then all they do is, like, they might just yell at their kids. Well, you're lucky. I'm not beating your ass. I'm just going to yell at you and browbeat you and do all this.
Sure.
And it's like, that's not... It's better, but that's not the way we're handling it.
It's still not good.
Yeah, right. And it's I understand you're...
just because you didn't beat the shit out of me doesn't mean that I don't have my own traumas, and it doesn't mean that you didn't fuck me up in your own way, kind of way, you know?
Yeah. And I think the daughter in this is very much so indicative of that, and I think she really represents that on screen of kind of like the, oh man, like... And I'm not going to get into this too much because this is not what this podcast is about. But, like, you know, just a couple facts here. Like, my generation has the most student debt acquired. Our housing market has crashed. It's like, in a lot of aspects, we did what we were supposed to do. I didn't because I took a very different path. And
but sure,
the
very much like, you got to graduate high school, you got to go to college, you got to get a good secure job, you got to, and then you turn out like, I mean, like, I have an English degree. And I'm working as a chef right now. So so it's kind of like I followed the path. I did everything that was outlined for me in the blueprint, and yet I'm still not living the American dream.
Right.
And how do I justify that with like, well, you motherfuckers told me what I needed to do.
Yeah, and it's not, and I think sometimes the discrepancy is where people will look at my generation or younger generations and they view it as entitlement. It certainly could be.
Sure.
It certainly could be that we're making excuses. I'm sure some of that exists to an extent. But in the same sense, it's like...
You motherfuckers promised us this.
Yeah.
You were the one that told us we were special and that we could matter and that everything was going to turn out okay if we just did X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And so now when we don't achieve that, or when we find out that the world is very much against us in that term, and we're bitter and we're angry and saying, like, you motherfuckers lied to us, and you're going, well...
Yeah, and it's... Well, yeah, and it's... Like, it's just different than what it used to be, and
Sure.
I think it's time that, like... The salary I make now, I could have bought a house 5 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just not the same anymore, and this movie, I think, really... The daughter of that very much so is that person in the sense of just, like, I just want to do my own thing, and I don't know this, I am not an Asian person, but, like...
You're not?
Of the Asian people I've spoken to, I understand that some of the demands maybe from like an Asian mother are different than they are for me.
Yeah, they definitely touch on that in terms of the whole like Asian, not to be stereotypical, but like the Asian American persona of like, you've got to achieve better than your parents did. Like, we sacrificed so that you could have a better life, and you owe it to us to do something with your life.
Right, and I'm not trying to speak out of pocket or like trying to
incorporate. But it is a part of the movie, and that's one of the themes of the movie.
Is an immigrant family is another big part of it, and so to not at least address that in what we're talking about would be doing it a disservice. Again, that's not a life that I've lived, but they kind of nail that point home.
I was born a poor black child in the South.
Go ahead and check your bingo boxes for the jerk reference. But yeah, no, and again, I'm not saying all that to like point out all these differences, but I just think this movie really helped me realize that there's a good way to go and approach your parents about things, and there's a good way for a parent to go and approach their children as they're developing into adults and say like, where are we at? Where's the resentment on both sides? And there's a healing that can come from a movie like this showing these things on screen. And so I think no matter what generation you are, I think you'll get something out of it. Like Michael said. I think, and this is just my speculation, I think that it very much so speaks to us, us millennials, which, I understand our flaws.
Right, whatever.
We're not perfect. We are full of excuses and we are full of shit. I'm not condoning any of that. But, it's just times are different. I think that there's a way for people to approach it and heal each other and look at some of the differences of when you were up and coming, this is the way it worked. It is different now, and I feel defeated at every turn because everything, especially here in America, I'm not trying to get political, it's all a fucking racket.
Yeah.
And we're tired of fucking being hosed, whether it be the two-party system or health insurance or anything. And it's just like, we're fucking tired of being
the housing market or minimum wage or whatever it may be in terms of like...
Yeah.
We see the man behind the curtain kind of thing. Yeah.
And so the idea that her daughter turns to this nihilistic approach is very relatable, in my opinion. So that was really all I was trying to say about it.
But also... Not to put too fine a point on it, but there also is this aspect of, as you were saying, like parents understanding that they fucked up for their children, or children not buying into the beliefs of their parents or whatever. But it's all about it's not necessarily about connecting with your parents or making reconciliation with your parents. It's about the attempt therein. It's about, I'm trying to make a human connection, and that's the important part. It doesn't necessarily matter whether or not you and I always see eye to eye, or whether or not you forgive me. It's about, I made the attempt, or I tried my hardest to see it from your point of view. And that's really what it is all about, is human interaction and human connection. And
it goes both ways, yeah. But it's evil. It's Evil Knievel. You get paid for the jump, not the land.
Right.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Right.
Yeah. No. Well, cool. I know that kind of took a weird pivot, but Everything Everywhere All at Once, to me, it speaks a lot. Again, no hate towards any other generation, no anything like that. Just telling you my perspectives, Michael's perspective, how the movie spoke to me is why. Because I'd spoken, to my dad, and he was like, I liked it, but he said he enjoyed it, so I'm not taking anything away from that. But I just know some people may still like the movie, but it may not reach them quite on this level. But yeah, so I was just trying to pontificate on that. So
the movie is worth a look just because it's so unlike anything that's out there right now. It's not a Marvel movie. It's not a rom-com. It's not a action movie. It's not a thriller. But yet it's all of those things. And so that in and of itself is worth a look. It's this movie really, to me, is if Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan, I'm butchering his name, but Short Round, if they don't win some type of award for this, it's going to be an absolute travesty, because I guarantee you, if nothing else, they give spectacular performances, and you absolutely connect with those characters, and you absolutely feel for them. And it's sometimes you revile them. It's sometimes you question their motives. At some point you not necessarily hate them, but you disagree with their motives, or you want them to do better than they are. And that's the whole point of the movie, is the human potential and what it means to interact and have these little crossroads of humanity.
Yeah. That's the only way to fight the nihilism. And like Evelyn says at the very end of the movie, after she learns the ways of her husband's strength, she says, I'm learning to fight like you. And I think we could all spend a little bit of time trying to learn how to fight like the other person. So, again, that's enough morality for us. Anything else you want to talk about before we go? Well, I know next week we're gonna talk about some Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh yes, because we're both gonna go see that, and we're gonna have a lot to do. And I think that might be a good opportunity for us to jump into the whole MCU and Marvel history, comic book movie history. So look forward to that.
Yeah, I got some #1 issues of some comics, so that might be a good segue into that as well. But just a little teaser, a little Susan, as it were.
So for those of you that like a more structured podcast,
tune in.
You got that to look forward to.
Yeah. So again, we appreciate it. We know we were kind of talking a little heavier points today than we usually do, but it's just how movies speak to us, man. That's why we go. One of my favorite things about going to see a movie is when I was a kid, you would always go in the parking lot and you would say, well, what was your favorite part?
Right.
And, everyone would say that. And I still love to do that. And that's why this podcast is. And it's more now than just what was your favorite part. It's what part spoke to you. And so we did a lot of today about what spoke to us, whether it be the Northman or anything like that. And again, we just want to apologize for anybody that may have been triggered about what we were talking about during the Northman and anything like that. So thank you for sticking with us. And I'm signing off. Michael, you got anything else, man? Go see a movie?
Go see a movie, and more importantly, talk about it with somebody you love.
Later on.
Peace.